the heartbeat of healthcare. A nurse always gives us hope. An angel
समझ
whose telescope.
जब पीछे का लेना ना तो यहाँ क्लिक करना है। ऑन है अब ऐसे ले ले।
Let's join together to celebrate
अब मैं देख
that
लेता हूँ।
angel. How many forms, how many faces, how many graces. Let's celebrate 100 glorious years of care. For an angel looks down at us,
इसे रख दे तुम तक
silently
मेरे को
smiling.
देख।
Let's tell her 100 years have gone by, carrying forward her
अपने आप
light.
रख।
And let's promise her
या अपना
to
भी वहीं
carry it
लगाऊंगा।
forward
हाँ, दोनों वहीं
for
लगाऊंगा।
many more
वहीं बैठेंगे
centuries
फिर।
to come.
अरे वो है क्या कॉर्डलेस अरे कॉर्डलेस है क्या हेलो जब तक बाकी लोग आते हैं बाय वेस्ट 3-4 मिनट्स लेट्स हैव गपशप आपका नाम सरला का मतलब क्या होता है सरला means heart like a sea. Heart like a sea. Okay, that is Sarla. Is she like that? She is. But this is what the name is. She says heart like a sea. No, she says Sarla means simple. Saral. Is she saying soft? As far as the Hindi is concerned, means vastness. Means what are vast things in the universe? The ocean and the sky. And what is vast in your body? No, mind is never vast. The mind is always narrow, limited. It's a consciousness. Omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. So it's the consciousness which is present, which is absolutely unlimited. So Sarla means consciousness. Okay? And it's the same consciousness which is inside you. And that's what Sarla. So her Sarla is there. There is one Sarla sitting inside you also. Okay. Madam, what's your name? What does Nirja means?
नमस्कार सर।
Nir means water. Ja means? Okay. What is the importance of water in the body? What is the importance of Nirja in the body?
85%।
Yes, why? What is lacking in our diet policy of the country? Anybody? What is lacking in the diet policy of our country? When you talk about the food plate, when you talk about the food pyramid, they don't talk about hydration. They only talk about nutrients. They don't talk about hydration. So which is the most important? If you keep your hydration, no fever will die, no dengue will die, no septicemia will die, no sepsis will die. So what are the criteria for hydration? What are the criteria for hydration? Anybody? Yes. No, that's not correct. Because the person is 40-year-old, 40 kg weight, if you give him 4 liters, the person, there is 30 ml per kg body weight. It has to do with the body weight. The body weight is less, then 4 liters will be very high. For a person who is 100 kg, even then, for him also 4 liters may be high. So it has to be 30 ml per kg body weight is the adequate requirement. But that is not a criteria. Are you going to wait for 24 hours? That means, are you going to wait for 24 hours? That means, to find out the dehydration, we are not going to wait for 24 hours. An adequate urine output. And what is that adequate urine output? If a person does not pass urine in 4 hours, he is dehydrated. The second sign of dehydration is armpit. Hello? बोल रहा हूँ.
हम रिकॉर्ड कर लो, रिकॉर्ड कर लो, मतलब कर लो. मैं नहीं कर रहा रिकॉर्ड, नहीं हम तो यहीं से करूँगा ना शुरू.
Second is armpit. सब लोग अपने हाथ, take your hand and put it here. Everybody. It is always going to be wet. And if it is wet, you have no dehydration. Dehydration means severe dehydration. That means you are, so armpit test. So whenever you find a person's, this is dry, that is an acute nursing emergency. Okay? So if the person does not pass urine for 8 hours, every 4 hours he must. But if the person does not pass urine for 8 hours, or if the armpit is dry, that's a medical emergency. So what's the mistake we do in the newborn? We put in a diaper and don't change it for 12 hours, which is wrong. Normally you are supposed to change the diaper in the elderly and then the newborn every 4 hours to see whether the urine has come or not. If you are going to put it for 12 hours, then it is going to cause a problem. So that is the hydration policy. Madam, excuse me, आपका नाम? Gita. What does Gita means? Gita is a religious book. That's not Gita. That's Geet. That's Geet. We call them as Gita, like yoga. We call them as yoga. It is never. The actual name is not Gita. The actual name is Bhagavad Geet. What does Geet means? Rhymes. So anything which is communicated in the form of rhymes is called Geet. The Bhagavad Geet is one type of a rhyme. You have 21 different types of Geet available. You may call them as Gita. One of them is Bhagavad Geet. When you communicate in the form of rhymes. So what are the other ways of communication? What are the other ways of communication? There are basically two types of communication. One is called Bhagavad, this is Geet, and second is called role play in the form of a natak, and these are called Purans. So all Purans were the messages communicated at that in those era in the form of plays. That is Bhagavad Gita. Now which is better, text, audio, video, or audio video as a mode of communication? Why? Which movie shows you the principles of audio video? Drishyam, which is available in the South also with some other names. Drishyam is a movie which tells you how audio visual is important than audio, and audio is important than text. How should you read about a subject in nursing? One is to take out a book and read, but what is the best way of understanding? No, go to the YouTube and find if a video on that subject is available. And if you find a video is available, listen to it, you will gather much more information than reading. Because video explanation will be much easier than a verbal explanation. If you are going to go for a class and you are very afraid, anxious, what will you do? Dr. Monga, you are going for a class and you are very anxious, you are nervous. You are called by the boss KD and he is interviewing you and you are nervous. How do you take away your nervousness? Gayatri Mantra. Anything else? So before you go to the boss or for an important meeting or for an exam, go to a room or be alone in the lift. Now what is the body language? There are two types of body language. The one type of body language is this. Okay? This is a negative body language. This increases melatonin in the body. Another body language is this. This increases serotonin in your body. If you see every cricket player when he gets a wicket, what does he do? He opens his arms and says, I won. You never say I won. Okay, you could have said it to the batsman, thank you very much. No, he says I won. Serotonin levels to bowl the next with more vigor. So if you do this exercise before appearing in any exam, you go and say, so I'm going to win today, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Do this exercise and you will, suddenly the serotonin levels will go up and you will perform better. While giving a lecture, you are having a thought log. What will you do? While giving a lecture, you get a thought log. What will you do? Suppose you're saying, oh my God, I'm not remembering the name. I know the name, I know the name, I know the name. What do? I've given you the answer. Take your left hand, bring it to the right side and say, what will happen with this is, you are stimulating your right brain, and right brain is the one which decides about the thought blocks. So when you're stimulating the right brain, the thought blocks will disappear and suddenly you will remember what you were remembering. So whenever you're giving a lecture, so always when I give a lecture, sometimes I use this, sometimes I use this, sometimes I use this. When I'm using this, I'm stimulating my right brain, now I'm stimulating my left brain, so I'm balancing my two brains. So that's the way of giving a lecture.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Okay? And then, when you are doing that, this hand and that hand, how do you keep the mic? When you give a lecture, how do you hold the mic? Never hold the mic like this. Because if you hold the mic like this, what will happen is, if I'm looking like this, my voice disturbs. So what's the best way of using the mic? Hold it like this. Hold it like this. Throughout the lecture, hold it like this. Now wherever I do, my voice will not change. My voice will not change. Is it useful? So this is how to communicate. Okay? How do you dress while giving a lecture? It depends upon your preparation. If your preparation is bad, so that everybody looks at you. Prepared well, never be well dressed because you want tense. Then go simple. Go simple and give a talk. People will appreciate it. But if you are wearing like half this dress here, so everybody will be looking there, they won't be looking at your lecture. And if you are not prepared well, then only you do that, otherwise no. Namaskar. We are doing chit chat. We are doing a chit chat. Now, how do you make a slide? When you make a slide, what are the principles of making a slide? That each line you want the person to know. At least 10 seconds you have to project it. In less than 10 seconds, the person will not be able to retain. So you have to have a slide big enough to be seen from the back, and it has to stay for 10 seconds. And if you want somebody not to remember you what you have told, sometimes you give a reference and you don't want people to know, then quickly you show and take away. Less than 10 seconds, if the slide is there, it will not click your mind. These are the principles of communication. These are the principles of communication. What to communicate in a slide? What to communicate in a slide? Not what you know, what the audience wants to know. So you might have, but the audience may not want it. Tell the audience what they want to know, not what you want them to know. And then ask yourself 4 questions. Then whatever is there in the slide, is it the truth? If you are in a doubt, don't put it in there. It has to be based on the truth. Then ask your question, is it necessary to communicate? You say, it's not necessary. Forget it, take it out. Will it bring some knowledge to the person who is listening? And will it add to your revision? Then only take that slide, otherwise take it out. Don't try to push information to people. How long a person can continue in a class? How long a person can concentrate in a class?
an hour.
Hmm?
Half an hour.
Anybody? See, if I go back to my, I'm trying to find out the noise level of this room. The noise level of this room is 90, this 99. The noise level of this is 95 decibels. What does it mean? What does it mean? You can concentrate for 8 hours. 85 decibels for 4 hours. 90 decibels for not more than 2 hours. And take a class continuously. After 2 hours, either you will start sleeping or you will not be able to focus. You will be able to strain. Therefore, when you plan a presentation, always make sure that your talk is in the first 2 hours. So when we sponsor a conference, we always like to say, give me the first 2 hours. At a time when maximum attendance is there. So these are some, so whenever we want to start, there are the, I said I am the 0 hours, I am only using the 0 hour. I am only using the 0 hour. And we are ready to start. Anything else? There are more. I mean, in communication, I can take an hour of workshop. These are only few points I've done. Because you people are not taking over, I am utilizing the time. Please start. For the information of everybody, this program is going to have a live webcast. So be careful, everybody should be aware. We are having a live webcast on our IMA website and IMATV Access website. This is like going to have a live web. Whatever is there cannot be erased. It is going directly into the webcast, and later on you can take the link and watch it later on. So no, don't make notes and everything. This is going to have a live webcast. So everybody should be aware. We will require a discipline of a webcast discipline, not like parliament proceedings. Yes.
Good afternoon. I welcome all of you today, next day of a Nursing Day. So first of all, I'd like to wish all of you a very happy Nurses Day, which was celebrated by all of you yesterday by cutting cakes, because I have seen a lot of photographs which were available on websites and on WhatsApp. So that is the first information and welcome. And we believe this initiative to be a very, very effective interaction, service, and has got an immense effect and immense role when we talk about the healthcare system. The angels of healthcare is no one else except the nurses. I'd just like to take you back to some 200-300 years back when the word nurses came into practice. This was probably the first word nurse came as a vet nursing. I believe vet nursing, everybody understand, but still I'd like to add 2 sentences. The vet nursing word came when the other child was fed by another mother because of any reason. Maybe the mother who has delivered was not, in spite of that, they are feeding. Nurses was the first word which came into the practice. And then the history, if you see about the nursing, it started from women hospital, and there the nurses word was used. And they were helping out in managing the patient. And the results, when compared after the introduction of a nurse in management, most of the times in civil war or otherwise war, the mortality came down sharply when the nurses were introduced into the healthcare system. So that became a very important thing in healthcare system, and that kept on increasing and increasing. And when then we came to England, European countries and the Britishers, where the word of nursing started with none other than Florence Nightingale. And at British era and in Britishers' language, the one word is very common, that is sisters. Sisters are known from Britishers only. And in India, we are still following the same trend of Britishers, and we are also calling our staff nurses as sisters. Most of the time, we are calling sisters. So with these words, I welcome you again, and we are going to have an interactive session. There is a little change in the program which has been given to you. First, we wanted to have a program of child sexual abuse between 2 to 3 and then inauguration. But we are changing from child sexual abuse on request to a doctor-nurse relationship. So for this, we have two persons who are going to deal with this really tedious topic. So I'm going to invite Honorary Secretary General Dr. K.K. Agarwal, who has been talking to you in so-called, in his terminology, 0 hour. So I request Dr. K.K. Agarwal to please come on the dais and take the mic and start with the proceedings of doctor-nurse relationship. And later on, he will be joined by Dr. Mrs. Bimla Kapoor, who is Dean from IMATV Skills Health Academy. She'll be all panelists. I'll request all the panelists, Dr. Sangeeta. May I request our immediate past national president, Dr. Martha Pillai, to please come on the dais. Can I request the president of TNAI, Dr. Anita, to please come on the dais. Secretary General of TNAI, Dr. Kanan, please. Madam Kanan, please. Madam Kanan, please come on the dais. Dr. Monga, he is a Dean, IMA CGP, he is an academic wing of Indian Medical Association. Ms. Samuel, Dr. Ramesh Datta, Ms. Surekha Sama, Ma'am Surekha Sama, Madam Surekha Sama, please. This topic, doctor-nurse relationship, is now, I'll hand over the mic to Dr. K.K.
Thank you. Let me first welcome you, all of you, on behalf of Indian Medical Association and on behalf of TNAI. When I took over as the Secretary General of IMA, I was wondering why IMA and TNAI doesn't work together. Because I am working with the nursing group for the last over, Madam, kab se? 20 years? Almost 20 years. I myself, my own NGO has been working and we have been working together. We even brought nurses and doctors in a common platform as far as the competitions are concerned. And in the last couple of years, I have seen nurses have been winning over the doctors. So when I was here, we said IMA and TNI should work together. We agreed. I was started seeing in the website, in the social media, and everywhere IMA has been criticized that IMA doesn't support the nursing profession as a whole, which was a myth, because nurses are the backbone of the society, they are the backbone of the medical profession. There is no way doctors can, nurses can ignore each other. And today is it's the start of a new journey where we will have a series of activities. We are going to have all our conferences open with special sessions for nurses. In all our conferences, we contemplate that, like we have special sessions for public, we will have special sessions for nurses. You can come and join. We even haven't spoken to them that IMA should institute an award for the best nurse of the country. Similarly, TNAI can come back with an award nominated by IMA to whom they can honor in their functions and we can honor in our program as one nurse. So we thought something needs to be done. And that forms the basis of doctor-patient relationship, doctor-nurse relationship. And that's what it is. So this is going to be a more of an informal discussion, no lectures. We would like to listen to all the panelists and we would like to ask all of you and how to make this doctor-nurse relationship a sacred relationship, a better relationship, a relationship of trust, a relationship which is not being the way people misuse this. If a doctor is talking to the nurse, कि चक्कर चल रहा है भाई ये क्या है, why is taking so much interest in the nurse? All these things, how can we convert it into a trust? I will start with my own immediate past national president, Dr. A. Martanda Pillai, who himself runs a big nursing institute. He himself runs a big nursing institute in Kerala in Trivandrum. I would like to start with him, and then we will listen to the TNAI president, and then we will have a better open for discussion, a nurse-doctor relationship.
So, at the outset, I wish you all the best on the International Nurses Day. Then I really congratulate Dr. K.K. Agarwal, who is known for his initiatives in all areas, even on doctor-nurse relationship or whatever. So he is a very dynamic Secretary General, with a lot of genius ideas he has, and he executes it also. That is the best part of it. There are people who have ideas, but they are not executed. He has ideas and he executes. So, doctor, nurse, patient relationship is very, very important because for a doctor to be successful, definitely, or for a doctor to deliver the best to the patient, there is need for the full cooperation of the nurses. And in fact, doctors spend time with the patients maybe half an hour per day maximum, or maybe another 15, 20 minutes. But then, at least 8 hours a day, a nurse spends the time with the patient. So the nurse knows the patient better. And it is a feedback that you get from the nurses regarding the patient's illness, regarding the interaction you have with the relatives, that ultimately help us to see that we deliver the best to the patient. So he already said it's a very sacred relationship with the objective of delivering the best to the patient. I worked in a medical college, government medical college, Savannah Medical College. I was the person head of neurosurgery there. We had an ICU, and with very limited sort of facilities, I've been observing how much the nurses deliver to the patient. Looking after a patient who is bedridden or without bed sores and with soiled linen and body with feces and things like that. How meticulously, religiously, committedly the patient is being looked after. And I have always appreciated the role that the nurses play as far as the healthcare delivery is concerned and the commitment that you show to the patient. And this relationship has to be nurtured properly, and obviously the success of any hospital, any doctor, or even the healthcare definitely depends on the coordination that the nurse and doctor have. And I have an AC college where BSc nursing and MSc nursing courses are being conducted. And I always, whenever I address the nursing students or those who join first, regarding the attitude they should have towards the patient. Of course, there has been gradual iteration in the attitude of doctors and nurses to the patient. The patient-doctor-patient-nurse relationship is definitely getting deteriorated. But then it should be our objective through such discussions to see that we come out of this route and do best for the patient. And your attitude, I always say, a patient, we can save many patients, but some patients we cannot, in spite of the best you do to the patient. But then you can always have a smiling face, a sort of attitude which gives some encouragement to the relatives and gives them a satisfaction that we have done the best in spite of the worst condition of the patient. A smiling face and a touch which could be healing touch. And that should be the attitude. And tirelessly, without sort of getting, say, my time is over, I want to go, that attitude has not. But one area where I have seen is the only one professional group where the time is being kept maximum is obviously the nursing profession. I don't know whether even the military, they follow such rigorous sort of adherence to punctuality at all. Because your time you had to come and you had to leave the next person who has to go. And this religious sticking on to punctuality and all this recording, plus of course the patient care, and also sometimes the job of a nursing assistant or an attender that certain emergency situations you are forced to do. So all this make you a different professional group altogether. A professional group which is committed to service. And I can probably say that Kerala has sort of given the maximum number of nurses, not only all over India, but all over the world. The caliber, capacity and the dedication of the nurses from Kerala is well recognized and well known. This comes from a background of the Christian missionary, I must say. That missionary spirit, Christian missionary spirit, has been really imbibed, but all anybody has imbibed in the nursing profession. Of course, medical profession also, to a large extent. And that is being maintained. So that commitment that you show. So these are things that we always appreciate. We may not be sort of coming out in words with all these appreciations, and that is where the doctors also lack. There's always a complaint from nurses that they never appreciate, but whenever there is a small problem, they are there to point it out. So to improve the doctor-patient relationship, this sort of attitude or the appreciation you have regarding the nursing profession should not be just in your mind. It has to be expressed and adequately conveyed, and nurses are to be sort of encouraged to do more and to build up a teamwork so that ultimately we can do the best to our patient and to the humanity. And both medical and nursing profession are very noble professions. Nobody can compete with us in that aspect. And let us continue to serve the sick. And that is the best way you can serve the society and serve God. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I ask Bimla Kapoorji to speak on this topic, I'm going to talk about how medical profession feels about nursing. But before that, I must confess that when I did my MBBS, the first house job I did was in pediatrics. I'm talking about MGIMS, Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Sevagram. I'm talking about the year 1979-80. At that time, I started doing newborn lumbar puncture, IV fluids, IV, all procedures I learned from nurses. That was the time they were our best teachers. Because we were just new as a house physician and we were in a medical college, every practical procedure we learned from nurses. They used to tell us everything about that. And when I went to US for a year in 1987, my son was born in US, my wife is also a gynecologist. And everything about the procedure, everything, what to be done, what not to be done, the full confidence we had it from the nurse present in the duty on that particular day, not from the doctor, because they have no time. So that's what medical profession also feels the same. What does our code of conduct says? Medical council, our good relationship with nurses and other healthcare professionals strengthen the doctor-patient relationship and enhances patient care. And it talks about Medical Council of India at 2 levels. One is 5.3. Similarly, you have Nursing Code of Ethics, and we also have Russian Culture Center. 24 Pirosha Road. This is between Meridian and So the President of Delhi Medical Council and Delhi Health Minister they will be joining us in the next 20 minutes. The 5.3 talks about is that they talk about relationship of doctors with pharmacists and nurses. And that the Medical Council of India says physicians should recognize and promote the practice of different paramedical services such as pharmacy and nursing as profession and should seek their cooperation whenever required. That means it is very clearly written in our code of ethics that nursing profession and pharmacy profession is part of our profession. It doesn't talk about any other system. It doesn't talk about physiotherapists. It doesn't talk about Ayush. But it specifically talks about the role of a nursing and pharmacist. That means this is a part and parcel of my care. And then 7.18, it also talks about in case of running of a medical institution by a physician and employing assistant to help him or her, the ultimate responsibility rests on the physician. That means if a nurse is working with me, then the onus of complete responsibility is on the doctor. So these are the 2 clauses which talks about this. So similarly, similarly, Nursing Code of Conduct may be talking about the relationship of nursing with the doctors. The primary bond between the doctor and the nurse should be a mutual ethical concern for the patient. That means our job is only one, to provide affordable, accessible, accountable, available, quality and safe health care to every individual. And that's a common goal. This goal cannot be different for nurses. The goal of this partnership should be based on shared responsibility and accountability for increasing quality and patient safety to improve the patient's care experience and outcomes. The primary job of the nurse is to carry out the orders of the attending doctor. However, where orders appear to the nurse to be in error or contrary to customary medical and nursing practice, the doctor has an ethical obligation to hear to the nursing concern and follow it. That means your job is not only to follow the orders, your job also is to see if I am doing something wrong. You need to point out that, hey doc, listen, I am more experienced to you in the practical terms, you are doing this wrong. And that reminds me of a case in my medical college. When a doctor ordered to the nurse, give IV KCl bolus. And the nurse knew that if she gives this IV bolus KCl, the person would die. She refused. And when she refused, the doctor started shouting on her. That, are you the doctor or I am the doctor? She says, you are wrong. This is given in a drip, cannot be given bolus. And the nurse walked out and the patient's life got saved. If she was just simply following the order, the case would have gone. Another case came up in Ahluwalia's case, Spring Meadows case of Supreme Court. What happened was, in that case, patient came with malaria, a patient came with fever, and the doctor on duty, the consultant doctor called up a nurse and said, give him a dose of IV chloro. This matter went up to the Supreme Court. The nurse had just recently joined from Northeast, and in Northeast, chloro means chloroquine. And in the north, chloro means chloromycetin. The doctor did not, he said, give IV chloro, and she gave IV chloroquine. And the child immediately had convulsions, respiratory arrest, became permanently disabled, and the matter came to the Supreme Court. That a good patient-doctor relationship is very clear. Doctors cannot order to the nurse like they have to order twice. They have to say CHLOROQ. They have to pull down full name, and then nurse is supposed to repeat. Then only an order has to come. That's the Supreme Court guidelines. The Supreme Court guidelines are that nurses should not take orders on phone unless they spell out, and the nurse is supposed to spell out whether she has understood it correctly or not. And this doctor-patient relationship, doctor-nurse relationship went on to the Supreme Court. In emergencies, in emergency, can a nurse take action? The answer is yes. Indian Penal Code 79 and 80 clearly gives you the impunity and the immunity that in an emergency, anybody, why only nurse? Anybody is authorized to save somebody else's life in the interest of the patient. Therefore, every nurse is supposed to know CPR. We are going to learn CPR today after some time as a part of our exercise. Every nurse is supposed to know emergencies and handle emergencies if there is a life-threatening situation comes. The ultimate goal of this desired relationship should be to create a friendly atmosphere where we respect each other's decision. That's what it is. And we must follow our respective code of conduct. My code of conduct mandates that I meet to take care of my nurses, take their responsibility, teach them, train them, and take their help in every respect. Unfortunately, I personally feel as Dr. K.K. Agarwal that in practice, every private practitioner must hire services of a nurse instead of hiring a counselor. If a nurse starts practicing with a doctor in a private sector, with every doctor there is a nurse, the scenario will change. They will be able to provide not only the nursing care, they can also take care of some of the pharmacy care, and they will be able to do a lot of counseling for a patient, follow-ups, appointments, everything. So I personally feel that doctor-patient relationship, doctor-nurse relationship is very, very, very important. Now before I ask, Vimla Kapoor ji is there? Before I ask, but then Anita ji, few remarks from President Ji.
Good afternoon. Actually, Madam Vimla Kapoor is going to elaborate the topic, so I did not talk much about it. But I fully agree with Dr. K.K. Agarwal's opinion. And the days were such where doctor-nurses relations were much better. Doctors have learned many things. As a student also, I remember we used to teach even injection, how to give injection, how to hold syringe, how to conduct the delivery. This we have taught to the doctors, and we had really friendly relations with doctors. And they were of course depending on the need, because doctors wanted to learn so many things from us. But now the relations are changed. Now earlier even the honoraries also, while entering the ward, they would wish sister in charge and then they would enter the ward. Sister in charge had all the rights to ask if somebody enters the ward without apron, and she was respected accordingly. But now even the medical students, as soon as they enter the medical colleges, they don't bother to respect even their own teachers. Respecting nurses is out of question. So I think many of us are aware of it, especially the senior people. They are aware of the changes which have occurred, and there is a deterioration in every field. Similarly, there is a deterioration in medical as well as nursing field also. Let us hear from Madam Vimla Kapoor in elaborated fashion.
I'll take this very pleasant responsibility of introducing Dr. Vimla Kapoor. She has got many degrees, and the best degree, she has got a PhD in nursing. She has got awards, many awards, and she has received an award from WHO and a fellowship also. So these things Dr. Bimla Kapoor has got in her as an experience. So what she is going to talk about the doctor-nurse relationship is going to be really very important. And whatever Dr. KK has said and whatever your president has said, in fact, some 30, 40 years ago, all the medical students after completing 4 years, 4.5 years MBBS, and once they join internship, they were all duly trained by nurses. It's all over the country, not at only one medical college. It was a trend all over the country. So we had regards for nurses, and the matron used to be, I'll say, respected, and respect comes when you hear matron is coming, and the terror, a word terror-like atmosphere will be created in the ward. All junior doctors will be having some kind of a fear. The matron is coming. Now let's find out whether we are dressed up properly or not. This used to be the atmosphere. I'm telling you about the King George Medical College in Lucknow. So I request now Bimla Kapoorji to please come.
Dignitaries on the dais, very senior nursing leaders, and some of my teachers are also there. My mentors are also there. Nursing fraternity, medical fraternity in the auditorium. I think it's a first time happening that an initiative is taken by Indian Medical Association and TNAI together for the Nurses Week celebration. Let me congratulate both the association by having this blend to prove that there is a need felt by the nurses and the doctors that there is some kind of a gap coming up, and that gap needs to be filled up. This is something very important, because it is a gap which has brought us together to see that where we can have that blending and find out that how best we can provide the patient care. Because all of us we know, and as Dr. K.K. Agarwal mentioned, that for us to be in the hospital, for the doctors and nurses, is only one reason. If there is no patient in the ward, none of us we are required to be in the hospital. But over a period of time, we forget that the patient is important. We think the doctors are important, the nurses are important, the dietitians are important, but the main person who is supposed to get the care does not get the care and is neglected. And I think it's a very important welcome step, and I would like to really use it fully in a short period of time, because there are many of the incidents which junior most nurse will be able to relate. I do not even address to the senior most nurses who are sitting in the corner, but the junior most nurses also will be able to address certain issues where she thought, should she be working as a nurse or leave it and choose another profession. So where have we gone wrong as teachers? All of us sitting on the dais, and some people sitting here saying 30 years back the relationship was good amongst the nurses and doctors. So that means as teachers we have failed to create that kind of relationship, and we have not passed on that legacy to the junior doctors. So we all sitting over there should feel responsible that why that continuity was not there, why we could not role model in front of the nurses and doctors to see that same scenario exists. So let me take through you some slides. It was a very difficult thing for me to put on the PPTs, but because time given to me was only 10 to 12 minutes, so I thought let me vent out my feelings and discuss it. Most of it, Dr. K.K. Agarwal has already touched it in a very simple way, and I am going to really reinforce of what is being touched. Can I be audible? Am I audible without the mic? Okay, then I stand this side. Now, if I look at this, is it okay? Can you hear me in the corner? Okay. If you look at this, I wanted to have certain ideas that what is the perception of the doctor about the nurse,
what is the importance of good nurse-doctor relationship? What are some of the types of good nurse-patient, nurse-doctor relationship, and how as nurses and doctors we can improve in the relationship? Now, a very interesting anecdote I found, though very old, but Robertson mentioned a very interesting thing. A nurse must begin her work with the idea firmly implanted in her mind that she or he is only an instrument by whom the doctor gets his instructions carried out. She or he carries no independent position in the treatment of the sick person, no matter how gifted or intelligent she may be, will never become a reliable nurse until obeys the doctor without questioning. Now these are not my words, this is said by Robert Sir. So I thought let's share this. Now if you look at the good nurse-doctor relationship, that could mean anything. It could mean doctor does not yell at me. It could mean he comes when he is called by the patient or by the nurses in case of emergency. Also, he consults the nurses and the nurses discuss the plan of care of the patient together. A few of the examples. If you think about the importance of good nurse-doctor relationship, as pointed out by Dr. K.K. Agarwal or by any one of us nurses and doctors, is that we want to give the quality care to the patient, who is an important person in the hospital. Fewer deaths and transfer of patients will occur in ICU, and the patients will not be transferred to ICU if there is a good rapport between the doctors and nurse, and that problem of chloro would have never occurred. Just let me inform you, Dr. K.K. Agarwal and the august audience over here, this particular person was not a trained nurse. She was not a trained nurse, and we from the Delhi Nursing Council, that time I was the president and Surekha was the secretary, we went into detail. She was on the job trained, a northeastern girl. So that's what we had written, that she was not a trained nurse. Better patient and organizational outcome will be there. The cost to the hospital will be less. The patient will be getting better care if there is a cordial and understanding relationship between the nurses and the doctors. There will be decreased length of stay, obviously, and increased autonomy to the nurses will be there. Just want to quote an example to you. Autonomy. In one of the very large teaching hospital, very prestigious hospital, I must say, the nurses were not allowed to even stop the hemoptysis of the patient. Am I talking correct term? Hemoptysis, yes. Of the patient after the renal dialysis. So when we were from the RAK College of Nursing, I said, don't worry, bring the liquid paraffin and give me a long bandage. And when I put when I blocked the nostrils, I think I used the wrong word. No, I was thinking this is the wrong word. So the patient was bleeding because heparin was given, and she went through the hemodialysis. And you won't believe, the doctor came and, as he said, scolded or shouted, whatever words were used. I don't want to use those words. But he said that all to the nurses. They said College of Nursing comes here only for a few hours, so they don't have a responsibility, and I had to take this doctor away. We sat in the duty room and told that, is there anything wrong done if the epistaxis is stopped? And this is the treatment you give to the patient who is bleeding so profusely because the patient had been on heparin. Now there are another number of examples we can quote, but where is that autonomy? Why are we not able to give that kind of autonomy? And when these doctors have the location in the western part of the world, they can see this demonstration. When we have, by virtue of being in IGNU, I visited many countries, and where the nurses are able to make the decision in other countries, they are not able to make such decision in our countries. So maybe we have to work on our code of ethics or our bylaws in more strengthening ways, and the nurses get empowered. Increased satisfaction to the nurses and the doctors will be there, so that's also important. I was thinking, just let me list down some of the relationship. The collegial relationship is one of the very important collaborative relationship. Student-teacher relationship, I think you had heard two examples right on the dais. Student-teacher relationship, friendly stranger relationship, and then of course very little is hostile kind of relationship. But I'm interested when doctor and nurse have equal trust on each other. They have equal power. That you are a doctor, no doubt, but I am a nurse. I know how to make nursing diagnosis, you know how to make medical diagnosis. I know how to do nursing therapeutic intervention, you know how to do medical and surgical interventions. We have not come down to that level, but we need to have that kind of power, that kind of trust, that kind of confidence in the nurses and nursing colleagues to consider them as equal. Respecting each other domain specialization is very important. Because when we say, when any doctor says that, in abroad the nurses are like this, then I say, when our nurses go abroad, are they also like this? Yes, they are like this. If they can be like this in other countries, what is that they are not here in our own country is a big question. The other is a collaborative relationship. It is characterized by mutual trust, power, respect and cooperation based on mutuality rather than equality. We should plan the patient care together. I remember one our student, RAK College of Nursing, she was a young, Anglo-Indian girl. She was working in one of the big hospitals of Bihar. As on the rounds, the doctor and the nurses went on rounds together. She was a ward sister in charge, holding all the, instructions to be written. And one of the patients was on garamycin those days. The doctor said, what is the report? And this ward sister said that, well, I think we need to stop garamycin because it is not affecting on the, as an antibiotic on the patient. So some of the senior residents told her that how can you talk about this? And then of course the experienced senior doctor mentioned, no, let's have a discussion on this. Now, if that kind of discussion is not also allowed, then what kind of equality are we trying to talk about? Let me share with you a collegial and a collaborative relationship. Nurses are colleagues. This is said by one of the doctors. Nurses, and in one of the studies, it's quoted in one of the studies, nurses are our colleagues. If you avoid them, they are going to hurt you. They are not only an extension of you, they also have unique skills, knowledge and talent that what the patient needs. If you work collaboratively with nurses, patient outcome will be better and you can trust that they will do and see that patient gets what they need. They also are good at interpreting and they are able to discuss and inform you what actually the patient wants to say. This is said by one of the doctors. Now look at this diagram. I was just wondering to share this. A nurse is caring, she's smiling all the time, she participates in emergency care, she participates in hospital and community care, she has a purpose of life to give care to the patient, she's tender in her approach, caring in approach, friendly, healer and keeps educating herself. Nurse practitioner course is there, nurse independent practitioner courses are there, so that is to be taken care of. Now let me talk about the student-teacher relationship. I think that is well emphasized by the people on dais, so I am not going to mention it. But I also remember one of the, in RAK College of Nursing, one of the very senior HOD walked down and he said, ma'am, you remember you taught me how to give injection? And I said, was it good or bad? He said, I had set up the complete tray which RAK College of Nursing students set up, because those days we used to boil in a big tekchi the syringes. They were glass syringes and we used to boil, wrapping each syringe with a gauze piece so that on expansion it doesn't break. So he did all that procedure and he explained me step by step. So it was very interesting to know many years back what we shared. Why we are not able to share today is a question. Well, the hostile is a very less one, I would call, but it is becoming very prominent and evident. Because a nurse in one of the private hospital I entered, the person was having a bad cough and a congestion. So I knew the nursing director was with me and I said, I know you're not allowed to even give inhalation to this patient. Imagine inhalation cannot be given by the nurse to the patient in one of the private hospital. And I said, when your doctors come, you say that Bimla Kapoor, who is a nursing person, said, because this is my relative, and you say that she has told to give inhalation. Now that much of autonomy is not given, which are nursing interventions, Now, threatens the patient safety. Yes, this relationship is marked by hostile verbs, verbal abuse, anger, real or implied threat, or even resignation by the nurse. I don't want to work in this ward at all. One of the hospital in the East Delhi, a big hospital again, the ward team leader came running in the nursing director's office. I happened to be sitting there, and this particular nurse, she did not find nursing director. I said, sit down. Then I told her I'm also a nurse. And when we sat down, we understood the reason was that the in charge of the hospital ward doctor actually got very angry and used some language which was not acceptable. And this team lead said, please come, you talk to me, I'll talk to my nurses. So that was not done, and she got upset, and then we said, go and have a cup of coffee in cafeteria, and then, thank you, and then you sort it out. Well, things got sorted out, but then the trust breaks, that there is a breach in trust. Can I rely on this doctor in the future? That she or he will not get angry in the public on me, So that's where the youngsters are really very particular whether to be present in that room where the doctor is examining the patient or not. Threatens patient safety, leads to nurses burnout and high staff turnover, high staff resignation. One of the nurses mentioned that physicians are sharp. They snap at you, and not just when they are busy, but otherwise also they shout. So when I see around the mood of the doctor, I slip out from there. Now this is said by one of the nurses. So this is where we talk about the breach of trust. How to improve nurse-doctor relationship? Both are complement to each other. One cannot do it without, the patient cannot get care. I just want to remind each one of us here that Harmer Henderson, who has been a very great author in nursing, has mentioned 14 needs mentioned for the nurses to take care of the patient. Believe me or not, I want to give you a copy. All the 13 needs, the nurse can independently attend for the patient. It is the 14th need where she takes the instruction, not orders, sir, the instructions clearly, intelligently from the doctor and implements it intelligently to the patients. That's only need where the nurse is dependent or has a collaborative relationship between the doctor and nurses. Otherwise, she or he can manage the care of the patient. Now, interestingly, perception of doctor is as an in charge, giving orders to the nurses and patients to follow it. So this needs to change. We cannot continue for this for a longer time where you are having nurse practitioners, where you have clinical nurse specialists. We do not have the position. But within this hall, you will, I think 20 to 30 people will raise up their hand that they are prepared as nurse clinician and nurse specialists. Nurses view the patient holistically because they are taught to view the patient, to take care of the patient emotionally, physically, spiritually and therapeutically. So that's how they are viewed. But doctors are taught to view the patient as a case. That's the difference in teaching. So we need to really change our pedagogy while teaching them that the person is not a case. The person is a father to somebody, husband to somebody, son to somebody. So we have to start incorporating these kind of human touches. Well, what can nurses do to improve in nurses-doctor relationship? Empower themselves by updating the skills. Updating of skills not only in just CNE for the sake of deregistration, but upskilling in the specialization. Because look at the gap between the doctors and the nurses. The doctors are going for super specialization and the nurses are not getting exposed, and those who are getting exposed are not getting the positions and opportunities. I hope Health Minister was here. I should say that the position should be created for the specialized nurses in the clinical field. Participation in professional organization is very important because that gives you to know where you stand and how you can progress as an organization. Participation in clinical research and conferences, and this can be collaborative with the doctor and nurses. Yes, when you write a paper together and if your name is not there, you can walk down to the doctor and you say that, sir, we have done this study together and both our names are to be there. You have to take no objection from me before you present the paper. I am sure you can introspect that these things do happen in the clinical area. The data is collected by the nurses, the interpretation is done by them, and presentation is done differently. Nurses must, sorry, I am raising these points because these are so close to my heart, and these are from my heart I have written certain things. Nurses must stop apologizing for interrupting the doctor. I think very clearly Dr. K.K. Agarwal mentioned that if the doctor is going to do something wrong, if he is going to put a lumbar puncture needle on the thoracic side, you as a nurse have a right to say, excuse me doctor, can you stop the treatment? We'll go and talk in the duty room. Because you don't want to belittle the doctor in front of the patients. We'll talk in the duty room, something is missing. Any excuse can be done, but see that the patient doesn't get harmed, but you have a right to interrupt. I know a nurse, a very young nurse, in front of the educated patient, the relatives, was scolded so badly by the doctor, he just happened to tell the patient to open mouth, let me check your temperature, because she had to inform to the doctor. Now speak up when they see something is missed by the doctor. If doctor has not washed hands and touching your patient, you have a nicely right to say, sir, we have got something, or you want to use sanitizer? Use sanitizer, because I'll bring you a sanitizer. Now these are some of the things where the next time the doctor will understand that he or she cannot touch the patient without washing hands. Create a culture in which concern for the patient comes first. Even though you are having a difference of opinion as a nurse and a doctor, remember, if you are with the patient, patient should be given importance. Forget your differences. Come back and have your differences in the over a cup of coffee, in the duty room or whatever place it is, but patient should not suffer. Also have a constructive conflict resolution process. It is very important. I think my teachers and RAK faculty would agree. In all these years, only one student had a problem, and there was a conflicting statement given by the doctor and the student. But the student was, the degree was given after 6 months. Only one student, because she happened to give a wrong medicine, because there was a conflicting remark given by the doctor. So this is where we have to see that if there is a conflicting situation, it should not affect the patient. Come back somewhere coolly and discuss it out. Have interactive, interdisciplinary, collaborative patient rounds. It used to be very interesting rounds. I remember way back, 30 years, 40 years back, we used to have very interesting constructive rounds. It doesn't exist now. The doctor goes, takes rounds and comes back, tells to the nurse how the language is not understood, as pointed out by Dr. Agarwal. So this is very significant that team spirit needs to come back, and the round should be constructive, educative, and also analytic, that how we can improve the patient care, feedback from everybody. Exhibit competent performance and self-confidence. The nurse has to prove that she is updating her knowledge. I mean, if you do not know anything, just walk down to your doctor and say, this person is getting this medicine, I do not know the action. Could you kindly tell me what is the action? And I'm sure she or he will be most pleased to tell you. Or if she is not caring or he is not caring, will say, please go and read, I don't have time. It's quite possible that too. Well, how do the doctors need to improve in nursing-doctor relationship? Is ensure that you know the names of your nurses in the unit where you work. You are working from over there for months together, for years together. You need to know the names of your nurses and nurses, senior nurses, junior nurses. Also introduce yourself to the new nurses who join your ward and tell that I am such and such. Go forward and introduce yourself. Discuss the issue of a day in informal chat that, oh, we gave that injection, that patient improved, but I think the patient is deteriorating. Please keep a watch. In an informal way, rather than saying that you have not done this and I have done this, not those kind of things. Familiarize with changing roles and responsibilities of nurses. Please, may I request the doctors, I see very few doctors in this auditorium, though it is collaborative kind of thing which is happening, but the leaders would convey our messages that the nurse's role is changing. The nurse's role is now becoming higher and higher. That does not mean that they lose the lower roles, but there are people getting prepared for the lower roles, like PMKVY, they are preparing general duty assistant. The government is preparing general duty assistant. So the nurses certain roles which they are expecting that these people will assist in bed making to the nurse. But you also have to see that they are becoming teachers, they are becoming team leaders, they are becoming decision makers, and they are also having the clinical specialization. So we need to use that up to the maximum. Also discuss whenever possible the cases with nurses at night, because night is a time which is a very tough time, and that should be taken care. Clinical management. Ensure that your clinical decisions are well understood. Like like Instruction should be addressed to senior nurse. It is very often that you tell something to junior nurse who is half understood and half not understood. So always give the instruction to the senior person. Can I? Do I need to stop or what? Okay, okay, no, because there was unrest, I thought maybe minister is coming. Okay, so instruction should be addressed to senior nurse. Sorry.
We welcome our President, Delhi Medical Council, Dr. Arun Gupta, and I request him to come on the dais.
Okay, welcome Dr. Arun Gupta. It's a right time you are joining us. I'm talking how the doctors can also improve the nursing-doctor relationship, and I think you have got great responsibility on shoulders to see that how certain curriculum revisions can be done. Instruction should be addressed to senior nurse and not to anybody else, and then make the senior nurse accountable for any mishap or difficulty which occurred. Also ask nurses before giving any task, do not take them for granted, because many times we think that can you take the blood for every patient because I am busy? How can you take this for granted that the nurse is not busy? So please ask, can you take for 2 of my patient the blood specimen, as I have to go and attend the OPD, and if it is okay. So take their permission rather than just ordering and going away, because they also have a right to refuse, and that's where the conflict occurs then. Pick up early signs of disagreement of the decision made by you. Problem needed to be addressed immediately. If there is a conflict, if there is a problem which has come up because of the decision made by the doctor, I just quote another example. One of the doctor in, sorry, I was going to name the hospital. One of the doctor in the mental ward of a particular hospital mentioned that RIT College of Nursing students will not come from tomorrow onwards. This was a senior resident, a well-known person, has done a neuropsychiatry, and he mentioned like this. So the teacher came to the senior, I was in RAK, she came to me. So I rang up to the other senior most doctor, HOD, that I want to meet you today at 6 o'clock. So I went and met him. You know what was the difference? What was the reason? The reason was the RAK College of Nursing was writing the mental status examination and attaching it with the case sheet. They were making the nursing diagnosing and attaching it with the case sheet. So that was the objection. I said, oh, if this is the objection, do you want them not to attach? The reason can be the duplication of mental status examination. Quote unquote, I said, it could be that the nurses are doing detailed mental status examination, and your PGs may not be doing that detailed mental status examination. If you want that it should not be attached, it will not be attached. If that is a point of controversy, and they will remove it. Now, is this a reason to have a conflict? Is this a reason to call for such a meeting? Is this a reason not to provide a clinical exposure to the nurses who need to have the clinical exposure? Do not assume the nurses are there to carry on the menial tasks which can be carried by you, by your support staff. See, the support staff is there to carry on many of your activities, and please hand out to them. Are you going? Please take these 2 papers and leave it in medical superintendent's office. Don't do these. These are not very pleasing kind of statements to be made to the professionals. You have a supporting staff, you have a runner in the ward who can, or you have a person to go and give, that can be done. Now, help and support. Encourage team members, this I am talking for the doctors, encourage team members to contribute and air their views. Tell them that what's happening. Why are you so upset today in the ward? Is the ward too busy? Are there too many patients? Now these kind of things should be asked. And how many times do, as doctor colleagues, we stop and ask these kind of questions? Discuss with nurses how can they take the leadership roles. Sister, I am going to be out of the ward. The ward looks very messy. Can you rearrange? Believe me or not, one of the nurses who got the award in one of these hospitals for 8 years would make the changes in the ward physical setup. She'll bring the patients from one particular unit to the other one. 8 years consistently she got the award for the better patient outcome, for the better turnover in her ward. That was a government hospital I'm talking about, not the private sector. Participate actively when there is a crisis in your unit. Not that you run away. If the relative is shouting, stop back, stay back. and be with the nurse. What is it? What is the problem? Let us sort it out. Rather than going away, nurses will manage, Yes, they will manage. They are the ward manager. They are the decision maker. Only problem is that they are not called as, they are not given that kind of designation, that kind of status, that kind of salary. So one has to see to those things also. Acknowledge and give recognition to nurses' skills. If your nurses are performing better, I'll tell you, out of your 10 nurses in the unit or 15 nurses in the unit, 12 will be your excellent nurses if you really see what kind of skills they are performing. Because we have to see how much they are able to do best rather than knowing how much they are not able to do. Also, attend safety and health issues of nurses and doctors. I remember in one of the hospitals, when what was that injection for hepatitis B, beginning when we started, it was given to all the doctors, and they say nurses don't require the injection. This was in one of the government hospital of Delhi. I'm mentioning, I don't want to mention the, no, I will not mention the hospital name. When we were shocked, the nurses are there with the patients 24/7, and they are being denied. Of course, they got it, but to make such kind of statement itself shows that how much of safety of doctors and nurses we are considering when they are 24/7 in the hospital, the nurses as well as doctors. Be prepared to support the decision and judgment of nurses made in your absence. I just gave you example of epistaxis and clogging the epistaxis and see that the patient doesn't bleed to death. Participate in future plans such as continuing nursing education, continuing medical education, joint clinical audit, joint research papers, research presentation. I am yet to see a forum in India where the research paper together is presented by a doctor and a nurse. There is so much of research done by the nurses, it is getting dusted. They are publishing in the international papers, international journals, but we are not able to utilize. Why don't we have those kind of committees? Sit down and see that how patient care can be improved. The basic objective is to improve the patient care. The studies are all patient-centered, management studies, clinical studies. So we need to really spend time on that so that we are able to use them and improve the patient care. I'm just left with 2 slides. I'll wind it up. Now, this is feeling and behavior of nurses. How do they feel? Nurse feels hopeless to work in a particular ward. Why does she feel? There are so many reasons. And what she or he does, withdraws. It's okay. I have come for duty, I'll do from 7 to 12 duty or 7 to 9 duty or 7 to 6 duty, and thereafter I go. That's a withdrawal behavior. Resentful and angry. I also remember one of the doctor mentioning, this was one of my best nurses. I do not know what has happened to her past 2 years. Has anybody explored what has happened when she was your best nurse? So there has been a reason that the nurse has withdrawn from the clinical situations because one has to go in that to find out. Resentful and angry. The nurses sometimes get very resentful to the remarks made. They get angry when they are talked or scolded or shouted in front of the patients, because each one of us has a dignity. Each one of us has got that self-respect, and nobody has got right to attack on the self-respect of the individual. So they become nagging, they become argumentative. Doctor, you told me this, I have done it. If you don't want me to do it, next time I will not do it. That will be the answer, and we don't want that breaking the relationship at all, because ultimately who's going to suffer is the patient. Also hurt and discouraged. They get hurt. They've done so much in the ward from morning till evening. Instead of 4 nurses in the ward, there were 2 nurses. Still they kept on working, and they met all the timelines. They saw that all the injections are given, all the treatment are carried on, and patients are made comfortable, and then also there is no, we don't want a reward, but there should not be discouraging words used, so they give up. No matter, see, I will also get promotion after 8 years, you will also get promotion. So why should I work so hard if the other person is not working hard? It's very sad to set in that kind of attitude in nurses if that happens. Also frustrated. When they get frustrated, they keep ruminating about that particular incident which has caused them frustration. They get enraged. When they get angry, they keep gossiping around and tell that don't go there. No, forget, don't go there. Let him manage his show. Let her manage that doctor his show. Now that's not a nice relationship. Unappreciated, they would not try harder. If you don't appreciate and if it is a routine activity, you consider no matter how good the nurse is performing, they will not work harder. They will say, okay, let me also work like my colleague B, because there is no other reward even in words. Rejected. So they become revengeful. If they have a feeling of rejected, I remember two of the young students in one of the states when I had gone to conduct examination, they came and asked me that I thought I was talking for a few of the doctors who are here. May I have your kind attention, please? Okay, thank you. Because there are not many doctors who will get to know what I want to talk about. These two young students, they said that our capabilities are good, we are good at communicating, we learn good anatomy and physiology, then why we are not respected same like doctors, Now they were demanding that answer from me. And then we had to sit down till 10 o'clock at night and work out. And they said, we want to leave. I said, this is the right time to leave. If you do not want to continue nursing, you leave now only because you are in first year and you will not waste the seat of the students, but decide yourself. Now, this frustration in the beginning when it comes, when they are being taught why the doctors like this, why the environment like this, has to be prevented. Well, this is about the nurses. Let me tell you about the doctors, how doctors feel. The doctor says, they say, these nurses are not up to the mark. They don't study, they don't do upskilling and all that. So they say, as it is, they don't know, why should we share anything with them? But that will not be true, because you have not developed that kind of a rapport. Too busy to listen. The nurses seem so busy to listen, what are we going to talk? Now, too busy to listen, because you see in the government hospital, also the nurses are short in the number, and if you go to the private sector, they do say 1 nurse to 3 beds, but you remember the 3 beds are in 3 separate rooms. I had seen a nurse, she was going to give a care to the patient, and the bell rang in the other room, and she says, ma'am, can I go? She went to the other room. Before she could finish, because there are rooms, it is not visible that where she can go and attend to the patient. You have allotted, dear ward sisters, 1:3 in the private sector. But have you seen the physical setup where the nurse has to go from one room to another to give the care? So then it should be 1:1 ratio or 1:2 ratio. So that is why they remain very busy, and that's what is very significant. You feel that nurses are very mechanical. They just do the work, come in the morning and go away. I would appreciate feel that the nurses are expert in their field. They have developed expertise. They don't have to spend too much of time. And again, I'll quote you an example which not even a medicine person. So why haven't we thought of it? And our nurses are working